So you're looking for a new project car or maybe just an affordable daily with tons of aftermarket support? If you've landed on a BMW, you're definitely on the right track. Today, we're gonna take a look at the top 5 budget BMWs you can afford with $3,000 or less. We're gonna run through 5 categories on each car and show you how they stack up, and we're gonna give each category a cred score so we can see what the best project car or cheap, affordable daily you can buy with less than $3,000 is here today on Rank. Starting off our list in 5th place is the E30. It's a fun, well-balanced little sports car that's gonna teach you a bunch about working on cars and even driving cars. Let's see how it stacks up in our 5 categories. First category is reliability. At $3,000, the E30 is gonna definitely be a project car. I wouldn't exactly advise dailying one, especially at that budget. You're gonna have a lot of work on your hands to make it reliable. So in this category, it's getting 1 cred. So our second category is availability. With over 2 million E30s made, they are certainly everywhere. However, at the price point, you're gonna have a hard time finding one worth your time, especially one that's running and driving for $3,000. So while there were a bunch made, and that definitely helps its score here, we're gonna have to give it 2.5 creds for availability, since you're gonna have a hard time finding one that's worth your time with the budget. Our next category is aftermarket support. With over 3 decades of love behind the E30, there is tons of aftermarket support for this car. You can find everything you'd ever need to build the perfect E30. However, there are 2 drawbacks. First, it's 4x100, which means wheel choices are gonna be a little bit limited. Second, if you wanna go air suspension or throw a set of coilovers on there, welding is required, which means you're limited there too. For those reasons, it's just shy of a perfect score in this category. We're gonna have to give it 4 creds. Our 4th category is ease of maintenance. Now the E30 is famously very simple to work on. You can fix it with like 4 wrenches and a hammer. However, at the price point, and especially because of the age, you're gonna have a lot of tougher jobs that make it a little bit more challenging for a new DIY enthusiast. Things like wheel bearings, subframe bushings, maybe even some welding for rust repair. Those are gonna be pretty common on an E30 in this price range. For that, it's gonna lose some points, and we're gonna have to give it 3.5 creds. The final category we are going to score all of our BMWs on this list today is street cred, or how cool it is to own. The E30 is the quintessential classic BMW thanks to its boxy styling, mechanical nature, and enthusiast support. Everybody from new enthusiasts to lifelong BMW owners love the E30 and respect anyone dedicated enough to keep it going. Because of that cool factor and classic BMW styling, we're awarding it 4 creds. So after all those categories are added up, the E30 comes into 15 creds, which makes it number 5 on our list of budget BMWs. And coming in at number 4 on our list is the E34 5 Series. It's like the E30's bigger, beefier cousin, but it doesn't suffer from the same E30 tax, so you can often find cleaner, better examples at the price point of about $3,000 than you would E30s, which is why it's number 4. So once again, our first category is reliability. Because the E34 doesn't suffer from that E30 tax, you're gonna be able to get a better car for $3,000. Because they're gonna be better taken care of and you're gonna have a cleaner example on your hands, you probably won't have to do as many big ticket maintenance items like you would with the E30. However, they're still old, so they're gonna need some work regardless of what you buy. Because it's just a little bit more reliable than the E30 in this case, we're gonna give it 2 creds. And our second category, once again, is availability. The E34 is a little bit less widely available than the E30, and you're gonna have a harder time finding one for the budget in the condition that you wanna buy. But for the money, you're still gonna be able to get something a little bit nicer than you probably would an E30, if you can find one. So for the availability, we're gonna give it 2.5 creds. All right, the next category is aftermarket support. Because the E34 has tons of cross compatibility with other BMWs like the E30 and the E36, aftermarket parts are everywhere for these cars. You just have to do a little bit of looking. Bonus points because it's 5-lug and you have bolt-on coilover and air suspension options. This car gets 5 out of 5 creds for aftermarket support. All right, our next category is ease of maintenance. The E34 is very simple like the E30, but it does have a V8 option and it also had a 24-valve engine option, which means it can be a little bit trickier for a new DIY enthusiast, but it's still fairly simple overall. Now you are gonna have some pretty regular failures on these cars like the window regulators, but overall it's easy enough to work on and we're gonna give it 3.5 creds for ease of maintenance. And moving on to our final category, street cred. The E34 isn't quite as popular because it's not a hot ticket item like the E30 and E36, but we think that actually helps it out in this category. So because it's cool, it's old school, it's definitely got that classic BMW vibe, we're gonna give it 3.5 Craigs for street cred. And for those of you following along, the E34 receives 16.5 Craigs after we tally up all the categories, which makes it number 4 on our list. Moving on to number 3 on our list of budget BMWs is the crowd favorite E46 3 Series. The E46 is very widely available, it's very affordable, and it's something that you could take to the street, the track, the grocery store, school, work, wherever, and it's gonna kind of do it all. It's a very ubiquitous BMW. Here's how we ranked it on our list today. For reliability, the E46 3 Series is pretty much just like any old modern regular used car. It doesn't require a lot of special attention or care like the E30 or the E34. It's gonna be easier to maintain for somebody looking to daily drive one. Now don't forget, you can't neglect your cooling system or your rear subframe, but other than that, it's gonna be very reliable. That's why we give it 4 out of 5 Craigs for reliability. Moving on to availability. Because it's still a modern used car and there were a bunch of them made, the E46 3 Series is very widely available, even at the $3,000 budget. You can probably find about 50 of them within driving distance of you right now that you can afford. So for availability, we're gonna give it, again, a hearty 4 out of 5 Craigs. All right, next category is aftermarket support. Because the E46 is a fan favorite for stance boys, drifters, and motorsport enthusiasts alike, there is a wide range of aftermarket support available for the E46 3 Series, so you can make it look and drive the way that you want it to. For that, we're gonna give it 5 out of 5 Craigs for aftermarket support. And our next category, once again, is ease of maintenance. Now this one's got some pros and cons because the E46 is more modern. It's gonna be a lot more reliable. You're pretty much just gonna need gaskets, brakes, tires, and a cooling system refresh. But because there's a lot more to go wrong with it, it can sometimes be a little harder to take care of. You have to remember your Vanos, and you've also got a bunch of electronics to deal with. So the E46 loses some points there, and we're gonna have to give it 3 out of 5 Craigs. Okay, moving on to street cred. The E46, because it's so available, got some points in that category, but for street cred, because it's so common, it's gonna lose a few points there. Until you've got it modified and looking incredible, it's probably not gonna get you the same reaction that an E34 or an E30 would. So for this category, it gets 3 out of 5 Craigs. All right, now we've tallied up the E46's score and it gets 19 Craigs, which puts it at number 3 on our list. And moving up the list, we are now at number 2, and we're gonna take it a little bit different direction than you were probably expecting. We think the E38 7 Series stacks up in second place because of its awesome V8 and V12 engine options. It's a luxury flagship estate that you can get for $3,000 in excellent condition, and we're gonna show you right now why it's number 2 on our list. For reliability, the E38 7 Series is something that has been chugging along for hundreds of thousands of miles and has probably been well taken care of because of the original buyers. These are cars that you can get at rock bottom prices right now at that $3,000 mark that are in great condition. All you really need to worry about is cooling system refresh and timing chain guides for the V8 options. If you ignore the V12, please just ignore the V12, don't buy one. The E38 7 Series gets 4 out of 5 Craigs for reliability, especially at the price. Moving on to availability, much like the other BMWs on this list, the E38 7 Series was widely produced, but because it takes a certain kind of enthusiast to want to get into a big body car, you're not going to have the same kind of competition trying to find one, especially at the price. So for $3,000, you can get an awesome example of an E38 and you can get one everywhere. That's why it's going to get 4 out of 5 Craigs for availability. For aftermarket support, the E38 isn't exactly what we'd call a track car, and it's probably not something you're gonna see drifting, but there's still a lot of love for the platform. They're popular VIP stance builds, so a lot of people do wheels, suspension upgrades, interior mods, maybe even exhaust and intakes. So for the availability of aftermarket support, we're gonna go with 3.5 Craigs in this category. Okay, on to ease of maintenance. Now we're gonna ignore the 750 V12 option and just look at the 740 V8 option. The 740s have a reliable V8 that's gonna have been well cared for its whole life because of the original buyers of these cars. Now they're at rock bottom pricing, and really all you're gonna have to do in terms of major service is chain guides and cooling system. Everything else is gonna be basic service like brakes, tires, maybe ignition, and some little bits here and there. But other than that, you're not gonna have to spend a whole lot of effort keeping these things on the road reliable as daily drivers. So for that, it gets 4 out of 5 Craigs for ease of maintenance. Okay, and for street cred, the E38 looks awesome stock sitting on some M parallels or even bagged with a full VIP build on some 3-piece wheels. It's gonna command respect wherever you drive it. Now, of course, it's not gonna set any lap records, but this is about street cred, not lap times. So for this category, it gets 4 out of 5 Craigs. All right, kids, for those of you keeping track at home, the E38 scored 19.5 Craigs, giving it a half-point lead over the E46 and making it number 2 on our list of budget BMWs. All right, and now our first place pick for the best budget BMW you should daily or start as a next project car. It's the E39 5 Series. These are popular on the street as a daily driver, as a track car, or even as a drift platform. Hell, one of our engineers drifts a 540 Touring. It's sick. These are the perfect budget BMW for the money, and we're gonna show you why. Let's check out how it stacks up in our 5 categories. All right, first up is reliability. The E39 engine options aren't anything we haven't seen on this list, so you know what to expect there. Basic maintenance is really all it's ever gonna need, and even at this price point, you can get a really clean example that won't take a whole lot of work to keep it driving reliably. Because of that, it's gonna get 5 out of 5 Craigs for this category. And for availability, the E39, because again, it's modern like the E46, you can find these things everywhere. Now at the budget, you might have a tough time finding a manual transmission V8 equipped 540, but you can definitely find a manual transmission 6-cylinder car for the money in great condition. For availability, once again, we're gonna give this 5 out of 5 Craigs. All right, for aftermarket support, the E39 has become quite popular on the track and even as a drift car. It's definitely popular at shows, either static or bagged, and there are tons of aftermarket companies ready to help you make your E39 5 Series perfect. For that, we're gonna give it 5 out of 5 Craigs for aftermarket support. All right, for ease of maintenance, the E39 5 Series has engines we've already talked about on this list, so you know what's coming. Basically chain guides, cooling system, and basic maintenance. They're pretty easy for anyone at home to take care of, so we think this is a great car for anybody looking to do it yourself. For ease of maintenance, it gets 5 out of 5 Craigs. Last but not least is street cred. Whether it's track prepped or stanced out or just a clean OEM Plus build, the E39 has an incredible presence wherever you take it. It's something classic but modern, it's well loved but also not quite as widely seen as some of the other BMWs on this list, and because of that, it gets a perfect 5 out of 5 Craigs for street cred. Well, there you have it. The E39 5 Series got a perfect 25 Craigs on our list and makes it the best budget BMW for under $3,000 that you can go out and buy right now. So that's it, that's our list. What do you think? Did we get it right? Am I stupid? What BMW would you buy for $3,000? Let us know down in the comments below. Anyway, I'm Craig, this has been Ranked, and we'll see you next time.